Since I actually know how a camera works, I'm going to explain to you a mistake that was made, and this is a viewer-requested video. High ISO actually does cause noise, and I'm going to explain to you the huge error made in a specific video. I'll let you take a guess as to which one that is. Okay? As to why high ISO does cause noise. Now the mistake, and I will get to that shortly. An example shot was taken in manual on 2 shots in a particular video, and it was ISO 100 in one hot shot and ISO 6400 in another shot. And it was 1/4 of a second in both and f2.8 in both. And then the person zooms in on the shadows and he says, look, there's no distinction between noise, in both of these shots when he actually zooms in on the shadows. And that's correct, but he uses that as the premise that high ISO doesn't cause noise. But that's a fallacy. You see, that's not how photographers work, because what you will do is you will not set your camera to manual. People will dial in, for example, in low light conditions. They're like, there's not sufficient light here where I can actually take a shot handheld and get it to come out, so I'm going to crank up my ISO. And ISO is applied gain. ISO has nothing to do with exposure in digital photography. So a person starts out in the real world, a real photographer, dialing in their ISO. And what that causes, since it's applied gain, is noise. And everything is about SNR, signal to noise ratio. So this example is used as proof that high ISO doesn't cause noise, but the proof is not true. Okay, the person starts out, both shots shot exactly the same except for ISO 6400 on the second shot. Well, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. There's equal, since ISO is not connected to exposure, of course, the noise in the shadow portion is identical on both, but that's not how photographers work. In real world, you start with the ISO, and then you take the shot. You could be in aperture priority, or you could be in shutter priority, So, saying that high ISO doesn't cause noise is like saying falling from a tall building doesn't cause death, only the sudden deceleration. So, while superficially accurate, it's ultimately incorrect. So we call this is a fallacy of distinction. This is also a distinction with a difference. Sometimes they say, well, you made a distinction, without a difference. Well, this is a distinction with a difference. All noise is one thing and one thing only, kiddies. Noise is bad SNR, signal to noise ratio. High ISO equals applied gain, because all ISO in digital photography is applied after the shot has been captured. Let me repeat that, since it's so very, very important. All ISO in digital photography is applied gain, and it means it's occurring after the shot has been captured. Here we go. Right? This is bad or fake SNR. High ISO is equal to noise. Now, if I were to start with a faulty syllogism, to be technical, since I'm a technical kind of guy, I would say, well, I've put the camera in manual, and then I've taken 2 identical shots, these are the settings on that is the shots. ISO 100 here and ISO 6400 here, both at 1/4 of a second shutter speed, both at f2.8. I'm going to zoom in on the shadows, and you can see that there is no distinction in noise in the shadows. And that would be true. But that neither confirms nor does it imply that high ISO is unconnected to noise. Because I can say, well, when I jump off a building, I'm not going to die because I jumped off that building. I'm going to die because of what's going on down here. It's like, while you are technically accurate, the chain of causation and your conclusions are inaccurate. High ISO does equal noise galore, because high ISO is applied gain. And this is not my opinion. It's not my feeling. This is called a fact. It's an undeniable empirical factoid. Yes. And since we can all agree that ISO is not connected to exposure, since we all agree to that. Yeah? This is the reason why there's not more noise here at ISO 6400 in the shadows than there is over here. But this was shot in manual. Yeah? If, for example, you set your ISO to 100 and you stepped into that shot and you took the shot, the noise in the shadows would look a lot better. And if you set your ISO to 6400 before stepping into that shot and took the same shot at the same distance and everything else, it would look a lot different. Because you wouldn't be in all manual. Yeah? Most people, like 99.99999% of people, they don't do like walking around photography in all manual. They don't. They shoot in shutter priority or aperture priority or, God forbid, full auto. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm going to set my ISO. When you crank up the ISO, yeah, when you're shooting in aperture priority or shutter priority or program mode, you get bad noise. Yeah, because high ISO equals lots of applied gain. Yeah? This is the reason why, if you were to accidentally, listen closely, you were to accidentally, and this has happened to all of us, accidentally to step outside and you forgot to turn down your ISO and it's like really bright and sunny, and you took a shot at ISO 6400, you know, and your camera shows like 1/8,000th of a second. Yeah, even though you're stopped down, it's like, man, this is a grainy picture. It's like, yeah, why is it so grainy? It was really bright outside. Well, I accidentally had my ISO at like 6400 or 12,800. Yeah, see, high ISO does cause bad noise because that's how photographers work. Shutter priority, aperture priority, or program mode. ISO is not connected to exposure in digital photography. Fact! However, to say that ISO doesn't cause bad noise is as incorrect as saying that jumping off of a building won't cause death, because everybody knows that, in fact, it will. Yes, indeed. It will, it will, it will. Was I a smartass for making this video? Or was I a smartass and also 100% accurate? I'll leave you to that conclusion. Namaste. I will leave you to that conclusion. Was I a smartass? Or was I accurate? Or was it a combination of both? High ISO does cause noise. Yes, it is. Yes, there's a direct correlation between cranking up your ISO and the noise that you get. Yeah, there certainly is. Yeah. And using this on two shots is called a faulty analogy. It's completely faulty because it was shot in manual. Yeah. And since the only thing that was changed between this shot and this shot was the ISO, that means that nothing's changed. Since ISO is not connected to exposure, and nothing changed between those two shots other than ISO, then of course, the noise in the shadows looks identical. This is correct, but it is also correct to say that ISO doesn't cause direct causation bad noise in the shadows specifically. Because girlfriend, because it does. It does indeed. Because the tattooed monkey knows how digital cameras work. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Was that too over the top? Was that too over the top? Or is it the caffeine speaking? I think it could have been the caffeine. I'll let you decide.